Hi, hello. Welcome to another episode of Isaiah's Newsstand. It's your host, Isaiah Edwards. The date is March 25th, 2024. Hopefully, this episode finds you well in good spirits and high hopes. As for me, I'm doing pretty good. Let's see. It's safe to say that I more or less got that lasagna today. It was nice. It was good. Let's see. Food corner last night. I actually did wind up having a little late night bite. Well, it was late for me. I feel like eating at like 9 o'clock or so is too late to be eating, but whatever. It's fine. I had a burger, some hot dogs, and the hot dogs were one beef hot dog and one brat. And then I had some fries and I had some chicken, some popcorn chicken poppers. So yeah, it was a very yummy dinner for your boy. Like I said, had a good day, so that's awesome. Hip hop, hooray for that. Let's see. So there's really nothing else to really report on the me end, the me side of things. Let me go ahead and do my startup, and we can go and get right into the news. How's that sound? Hopefully good. Ooh, yummy. Okay. All right, all right, all right. Our first story comes from, excuse me, from the Associated Press. Four men charged in Moscow attack, showing signs of beating at hearing as court says to accept guilt. Four men accused of staging the Russia concert hall attack that killed more than 130 people appeared before a Moscow court Sunday on terrorism charges, showing signs of severe beatings. One appeared to be barely conscious during the hearing. Yeah, so I mean, this is an update on I forget the how to pronounce it too. What is it? The Krogok? I'm getting that wrong. Let me go ahead and just keep reading. Court statements said two of the suspects accepted their guilt in the assault, though the men's conditions raised questions about whether they were speaking freely. There had been conflicting reports in Russian media outlets that said all three, or said three or all four of the men admitted culpability. Let's see. The investigators charged, and I'm going to get these names completely butchered. I'm sorry. Dalarjon Mizuroyev, 32. Said Dakrami Rachabolzada, 30. Shamasidin Fariduni, 25. And Muhammad Sobir Faizov, 19, which 19 is so crazy, with committing a terrorist attack resulting in the deaths of others. The offense carries a maximum sentence of life imprisonment. Now, apparently, there isn't like the death penalty. They have like a moratorium on it. But I was like listening to people saying like, yeah, like there's like Russian citizens talking, saying like, yeah, we would actually love to see the death penalty lifted for these guys. Like we would like to see these guys killed. Which I get the sentiment. I think you could hear that kind of talk coming out of any kind of American or anything like that. These kind of situations definitely bring out those kind of emotions in people, and it's very understandable. Whether or not you agree with that, I think that varies from person to person. But yeah, let's see here. Russian media reported that the men were tortured during interrogation by security services, and Mirazev, Rachabolzada, and Fariduni showed signs of heavy bruising, including swollen faces. Yeah, one of the men was so badly fucked up they brought him in on like was it? Yeah, it's Faizov. Faizov was brought to the court from a hospital in a wheelchair and sat with his eyes closed throughout the proceedings. He was attended by medics while in court, where he wore a hospital gown and trousers and was seen, um, excuse me, and was seen with multiple cuts. So yeah, I mean these guys definitely got worked over real hard. Let's see here. And yeah, two of them said, "Hey, okay, I'm guilty. You got me." But granted, I mean that's under extreme duress. But I don't think it's really gonna matter in the scheme of things. Um, let's see here. Yeah, it was Crocus City Hall concert venue that killed at least 137 people. Sorry, I really wanted to try to find that. Let's see. The attack, which was claimed by an affiliate of the Islamic State group, was the deadliest on Russian soil in years. I stated in the previous episode, though, that Putin and more or less the Kremlin isn't really acknowledging the ISIS part. They're like, yeah, these guys are terrorists, but maybe they were terrorists that were, being helped by Ukraine because they were heading to escape by means of to like a part of the border that like apparently was like Ukraine was going to help them do that. That's what they were insinuating. That's what Putin was insinuating. But it stated that like that's like the front lines of the war. Like there's no way that that's the case. But okay, that's the Kremlin side of it. I also mentioned in the initial episode that took place, what was it, Friday, that like the U.S. embassy in Russia was telling people, they were telling Moscow like, hey, there's a planned attack. Like, you guys should be very prepared and get ready for this shit. And it was more or less ignored. It was not only ignored, it was warped into being like, no, you guys are trying to blackmail us. Like, by giving you the information? Like, okay. Like, I'm not saying it's impossible, by the way. I try to leave everything on the table. But I think sometimes it's just like, oh, what are we going to do? Dueling conspiracy theories? Like, I hate that shit. I think it's very annoying to whip that up. And I think that's... I get what Russia's trying to do here. You know what I mean? You got to try to say, hey, there isn't any terrorism. We are only at war. And, like, let's aim that shit at the people we're fighting with. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like that's the logic here. So let's spin the propaganda that way. But I do think that's pretty wild leap to make. But, hey, I mean, we'll see. I mean, things come out in the wash sometimes, and sometimes we get information. I will gladly accept and say, hey, I'm wrong. Oh, what the fuck? That's crazy. I didn't expect that to happen. What a twist. But yeah, no, I don't know. I also try to say, hey, what is the most likely scenario? Let's just try to go with that. And, there's definitely evidence that supports. It's like, yeah, this group could see, hey, we have bones to pick with you, and we're going to do it. We're going to fucking make this happen. It's just crazy, though, that like 4 people did this much damage. I mentioned that the fires were a thing. Like, they were just somehow so organized. I mean, I say somehow, but when you're determined to do a thing, I mean, like, that's how the 9/11 shit happens. You know what I mean? Like, you're gonna make it happen. Yeah, some other groups are gonna get caught and they're gonna get busted, but at the end of the day, most likely, if you're determined enough, if your group is determined enough to make it happen, someone's gonna wind up getting through and people are gonna wind up getting hurt. And, obviously that's very unfortunate. That's very sad. So yeah. We'll call that an update. I know that was a bit sloppy on entry, but you know me. You know how I do. I come in messy, I leave messy. Anyway, let's move on to the next bump. Also from the Associated Press, UN demand for Gaza ceasefire provokes strongest clash between U.S. and Israel since war began. I feel like that aspect, by the way, is being so dramatized, but we will get into it. The United Nations Security Council on Monday issued its first demand for a ceasefire in Gaza, with the U.S. angering Israel by abstaining from the vote. Israel responded by canceling a visit to Washington by a high-level delegation in the strongest public clash between allies since the war began. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu accused the U.S. of retreating from a principled position by allowing the vote to pass without conditioning a ceasefire on the release of hostages held by Hamas. I would say that this vote was a long time coming, and it's a shame that yet again, throughout the entire process, and probably continuing onward, because it's not like, they could still change their mind or like jam the process up further, and in further votes or whatever by, going against it. But doing the vote of abstaining, like voting by abstaining, saying essentially we're not going to say anything, is still the same thing. I roasted the goddamn UK for doing that shit all along the way because they're just as complicit in this in a historical sense. But at the end of the day here, the US is doing its goddamnedest to jam this whole process up, which is literally just us simply saying from the UN's perspective, hey, Israel, you need to wrap this shit up. It needs to stop. Like, do a ceasefire. And, like, even the word like permanent, like that was a word that was just like fought over and fought over. I think it now is sustainable or whatever. And that's the thing. This is all something that's pretty much just made of glass. It doesn't do anything. Like the UN have no teeth. They're not going to do any kind of enforcement. Like Israel can and most likely will just shirk this off and go right into continuing what they're doing. Their goddamn genocidal push, their ethnic cleansing. They don't care. I was literally listening to a settler talk on the BBC. There was like an interview, and they're just like, you can call it whatever you want. You can call it a cleansing. You can call it a moving, whatever. We don't care. We want, like, I'm paraphrasing here, but like, we want this land. It's our land, and we don't care what happens to them. And the person, the settler, she tried to spin it as if it's like, no, this is really for the benefit of the Palestinians. Like, this is just good for them, And essentially, I'm a settler fighting for this land, and the land, I'm fighting for not just myself and my family, but others. We want to get that beach. Like, it's crazy, the logic there. But kind of back to the UN. Essentially, Bibi's really mad. Benjamin Netanyahu's really upset that the U.S. didn't just actually out and out say no. Like, you guys are supposed to be the wall for us here. You guys are supposed to be fighting for us, and you didn't fight hard enough. So I'm not going to send this delegation. That wasn't going to do anything anyway. Like, essentially, I think, what was it, Mike Johnson? I mentioned the Chuck Schumer thing. Obviously, the Republicans are going to go in the complete counter opposite of whatever a Democrat does. That just makes sense, right? Okay. And obviously, they are very staunchly. I mean, honestly, at the end of the day, both sides are here. This is a both sides of the thing. But, definitely you're going to find most Republicans like, oh, no, we're standing with Israel, brother. Oh, yeah, that's like cheek to cheek. So they invited Benjamin Netanyahu to come and address Congress. You come here, you big dog. You love doing that, right? Come do your thing. Tell us why we need to be supporting y'all even harder. And essentially, I guess they're so mad, they're throwing up their hands and like, we're not even going to come here and do that. We're staying home. We're taking our ball, and we're probably going to go to Rafah and once again just do more atrocities. We don't care. So I mean, that's the thing that's really frustrating, is that this is a good thing that the UN made this declaration. Like, finally, awesome. It's crazy that I had to go through so many slices and dices, but like, better late than fucking never. But once again, it just has no teeth, and it's not going to fucking change anything. And that's a real bummer. I mean, I guess if I want to hop into an optimistic lens, you could hope that maybe Israel can kind of see a writing on the wall here and say, like the powers that be do not want us to do this. We should not continue to take this further and maybe start trying to really wrap this up, scale this back. But I just highly doubt that. Once again, looking at history, the stuff I've seen and know, I don't think that that's going to happen. I think they're going to sally forth. I think they're going to fucking continue. And that's really unfortunate, because that means more innocent Palestinians are going to die. I mean, sure, Israel is going to say, no, we're killing all these Hamas. And there's all these battalions there. There's like 4, no 5. Who knows? There's so many battalions. And if we can just get to Rafah and we could just blow them all away. But you're still going to have this problem. You know what I mean? I also think, too, if I'm not mistaken, the hostage thing is still like a thing at play. They just split it up finally. Initially, I know that the U.S. was really fighting to make sure that was linked. Like, you had to make sure that this verbiage is all the same. And China and Russia were kind of coming through, and Big Dog is like, no, like, we're not going to let the U.S. just do this and strong arm the conversation. No. And then, of course, that's kind of laid as like this realpolitik by U.S. to China and Russia, saying, oh, they're trying to use the Gaza Israel conflict. They're trying to use the situation as a cudgel to kind of get political points. And my response to that is, so fucking what? Who cares if that's exactly what the fuck they're doing? Because guess what? It's morally correct to do this. Like, it's crazy that literally on paper, like, the U.S. is just trying to just sabotage this whole thing for Israel's benefit. And they're just trying to be like, but we're the good guys. Like, why are you guys trying to jam this up? You guys are being so weird. It's like, no, dude, you're literally the weird guy in the room. Like I said, once again, you and the UK. But even the UK said, no, okay, we're on side here. We're with the gang. We're going to vote. So if they're no longer standing right, like, come on, just give up the goddamn game. But once again, The U.S. kind of knows where it's at in this conversation. Like, they know that they need to try to say, hey, no, we really hate what Israel's doing. Like, it's so icky. They're so gross. But, I mean, we're going to keep supporting them. Like, I mean, there's a red line, but who knows where we'll find it at? I don't know. Like, today, tomorrow, never? Who knows? So, I mean, we'll see. We'll see where this goes. But, you want to call it good news? No? I don't know. You tell me after I said all this bullshit I done said. Okay. All right. Let's roll on to the next bump. From the ABC. In a win for Trump, appeals court lowers his bond to $175 million in civil fraud case. Ooh, let me get a drink of water. I'm losing my voice. Okie dokie. A New York appellate court has ruled that former President Donald Trump can post a lower bond to cover his $464 million civil fraud judgment. So, boo, tomato to this. They really just gave this broke boy a fucking break, and I hate it. I think it's lame as hell. He essentially says, oh, no, Your Honor, I have the $500 million. I definitely have it. I have it in cash. I do. Even though that's probably my whole entire estate that I can't liquefy to actually make money. And even if I could do that, it would literally ruin my businesses. I couldn't do business without that said millions of dollars. Even though I've told you guys and I've told everyone that I'm like a billionaire. We don't see the receipts, but okay, whatever. Anyway, he essentially has gotten this lowered down by the appellate division, first department. They said that you can just pay the $175 million to cover the judgment. And then you can go through with your appeal. So that's an interesting wrinkle. Essentially, Letitia James, the Attorney General, New York, they were ready. They had the knives out. They were ready to carve this shit up and take what they wanted to take. At least starting from the New York assets and then seeing what they could get. But essentially with this, he has 10 more days to post, and it's $175 million as opposed to $464 million. I guess if you're a Trumper, hip hop hooray for you. You got what you wanted there. He's definitely going to be able to post that. I think he's pretty confident to do that one way or another. It's whatever at the end of the day. I'm curious to see how the appeals could go because essentially I think he's going to be on the hook no matter what, but they could lower it from the almost $500 million loss, amount that he's supposed to pay. We'll see. But I mean, there's still like the 83.3 or whatever. I can't remember the exact number, but from the Jeannie Carroll defamation situation. So I mean, he's got some money coming down the drain. But we also talked about True Social. That's gonna be worth a lot of money. So that he's winning and losing all at the same time. You know what I mean? If I was a rich man. Was there anything else I wanted to talk about here on this? This was just an update I wanted to, let you guys know about. I'm sure there's details here, but 83.3 million. There it was. That was the number for the E. Jean Carroll situation. But yeah, I was surprised that he was literally able to just like cry poverty here. I just can't come up with it, Your Honor. Like, I would think that it's like, no, man, like either come up with it or it sticks. And it's like, no, we'll work with you. And like I said, there's a chance that it could get carved down some and he doesn't have to pay as much. But maybe not. Maybe he has to pay it all. Or maybe he gets it all flipped over. Who fucking knows? We'll see. But, that's how appeals work. Yeah, that's good. We'll call it. There's that. We have one more thing I wanted to talk about. So let's take off. I'm going to take my break. And then we'll go ahead and do our last story. How about that? Oh, yeah. Okay. From Reuters. Boeing CEO Dave Calhoun to step down in shakeup amid safety crisis. Boeing CEO Dave Calhoun will step down by year end in a broad management shakeup brought on by the plane makers' sprawling safety crisis, exacerbated by a January mid-air panel blowout on a 737 MAX plane. In addition, board chair Larry Kellner and Stan Deal, head of the company's commercial planes business, are also leaving as Boeing's board tries to get control of the myriad issues that have shaken confidence in the iconic plane maker over several years. I want to actually worry a little bit more. The January incident was most recent in a series of safety crises that have shaken the industry's confidence in the plane maker and hampered its ability to increase production. Calhoun, 66, was brought in as a CEO following a pair of crashes in 2018 and 2019 that killed nearly 350 people. Now, this just kind of goes to show that this is like now a cycle. This is like a cyclical thing where like Boeing can kind of realize that the writing's on the wall and we have to give you guys the pound of flesh that you're asking for. So here we go. Let's lop off some heads, some CEOs, some top brass guys that you guys are like, oh, these guys are making all the money, and we're going to get new guys that are going to make all the money, and things are going to be better. When truly, I don't think so. And it's very sad because like Boeing used to be a company that was very focused on having a very good product, which was a plane that could get people from point A to point B safely. And that's great. But they've cut so many corners and they've winnowed down so many things just to get a better bottom line to make more fucking money. And they're only going to swap in more people that do that. So I don't think this change is actually going to do a damn thing. But I think that some people are going to say, hey, this is restoring confidence. You know, we'll see whoever the next CEO is going to be. Surely they're going to do better. I think they might be talking about getting maybe the older previous CEO or, you know, management. I'm not sure. But, I mean, who knows? I do want to read a little bit more from my highlighted portion. Found it. COO Stephanie Pope has been appointed to lead Boeing commercial airplanes effective Monday. Steve Mollenkopf, former CEO of tech company Qualcomm, has been appointed new chair of the board and is leading the search for the next CEO. A source told Reuters Mollenkopf will join Kellner on planned meetings with major U.S. and foreign airline CEOs. So yeah, we'll see if this change, this shakeup is going to wind up doing anything. My prediction is that it's not, because sadly, the almighty dollar just kind of winds up ruling all. And it's like, you know what? People are just numbers at the end of the day, and like maybe they die, maybe they don't. At the end of the day, as long as you guys make money, Mr. Shareholder, Mrs. Shareholder, then who cares? Who really gives a shit? And everyone kind of nods in approval and goes, okay, that's fine, that's all right. And that's really sad because, you got to get on this plane to, go on your vacation, right? Or you got to go on this plane to get back home or see your family, whatever. And, it's crazy that kind of people aren't given as much of a shit as maybe they should. But I guess by that regard, they also do that with your cars. I don't know if that makes you feel better or worse. But, that's why these recalls can kind of happen. Sometimes they fight over that shit. They go, oh, we don't really need to recall it. And it's like you have to get pushed to the point of like, oh, no, they're going to sue us. And that would be really bad. Let's just do the recall. And then we're going to get sued anyway. But like, we got to definitely do it now. Okay, it's too late. Oh, fuck. Oh, no. But hey, also they can make a little bit of money. But that's it. I feel like that was supposed to be better news. I don't know. Oops. And these things happen. But yeah, that's the episode. That's all I have. Let's see. If you'd like to help out, support the effort, there is a financial way to do that. Patreon.com/Isaiah News. You become a newsie today. I shout you out at the top of the month. Plug a project if you'd like. Let's see here. Free ways to hit me up, isaiahnews1@gmail.com. And then feel free to follow me or the podcast on any of the socials you're on. And then hopefully you're subscribed to the YouTube. Really helps out a lot. If you are not, just to keep you abreast to what's going on. Whenever a new episode drops, I know I feel like I have a pretty good timing rhythm. It kind of hits around a certain time. But, sometimes I'm a little late, sometimes a little early, and you can always just keep up if you just hit that. I can't even make the sound, but you hit that button. Smash that subscribe button, and then smash that like button. You do those things, and it helps out a lot. And leaving cool comments is always great. And feel free to leave reviews if you're on Spotify or Apple. And sharing is caring. It can be fun. It does wonders. Thanks so much for tuning in. Thanks so much for being a friend. And hopefully I see you soon for some more good news. I love you. Bye-bye. Mwah.